We are here at Right Choice Happenings Realty with Brad Mines from the Halving Report podcast. Brad, thank you for joining me here.
Joe, it's my pleasure to be here. Super excited for this one.
Yes, this is awesome. We're here. We're going to be talking all things Bitcoin, maybe some crypto, maybe content. We'll see where this goes. You're my first time having somebody on to talk Bitcoin. You're a local guy, and I'm really happy that I found somebody through our mutual friend, Todd Napper, that said he knew a guy that knew Bitcoin. So I'm happy we're doing this. We just met officially the other day.
Right.
Even though we've been talking online for a bit.
We had a few phone calls and online conversations prior to organizing this podcast. But yes, shout out for Todd for connecting us. And, luckily I only live probably 10 to 15 minutes from here. So
nice.
Glad I could swing by tonight.
Nice. So I'm not even sure exactly where to start because I think people's knowledge of Bitcoin will vary a lot. Where do you think we should start with?
We should probably start with, what is Bitcoin?
Yes.
So
it's a scam.
It's a scam. It's the biggest sham the world has ever seen.
This is what I hear a lot of times when it comes up.
Right. So it's often a common phrase that people will call Bitcoin a scam because, when you look at it from an outsider's perspective, it seems like some magic internet money that a lot of young people are interested in. And it's something out of the ordinary that a lot of, we'll say, traditional folks aren't too fond of the idea of, taking self-custody, which is a huge aspect of Bitcoin, is taking self-custody and ownership of your private keys, which means you control your own money, meaning there's no bank or third party in between you or you and your money. So it's a big responsibility and a big movement of empowerment. And a lot of people aren't ready for that. So you're seeing a lot of custodial services coming up now where it's easy to onboard new people, normies into the space. So people that aren't super comfortable with taking that self-sovereignty, financial ownership of their cryptocurrencies can now go to these third parties that act like banks, which I would certainly warn was part of the reason why Bitcoin was created, was to get away from third-party control and making a peer-to-peer electronic payment system, digital money. And it's not the first iteration of digital money. It's actually decades in work. So there was a lot of different types of online internet currencies that came about before Bitcoin. They all failed. They all failed until Bitcoin came along, and Bitcoin was the first truly decentralized crypto online internet money. And that's why you've continued to see it soar, and it's the best performing asset ever. So if we're measuring Bitcoin from its early times, you started off at a penny, 30 cents, or whatever it was first listed at. Regardless, under a dollar, like we're talking millions of percentages in gains. Now, not everyone's so keen to invest in Bitcoin in 2009 when the white paper first came out, or when Bitcoin first launched, but you're still going to see some gains. Everything's pre-programmed, so it's a programmable money. And just to kind of recap on what Bitcoin is, all it really is an online digital ledger. So a bank's ledger of all the transactions, you don't get to see that, right? It's private, and banks often act in a way that is very advantageous for them, but as a whole group of society, sometimes dampers the situation, the economic situation. We see income disparity at its greatest numbers in a long time. And, Bitcoin is, again, a digital ledger that is upkept by computers in a decentralized manner across the world. So all these computers are holding a ledger of the Bitcoin, of the transaction from the very first block that was created back when Bitcoin first came out. It's an online ledger, and it's distributed all across the world, and it cannot be taken down. And that's why you haven't seen any governments being able to take it down or attack it in a way that has made it disappear. It does go through these cycles every 4 years called the Halving Report. Every 4 years there's a halving. There it is. So you pay attention to these cycles, you zoom out, and that's my whole game plan is to help people zoom out, see the big picture, see the revolutionary technology that was created, and the philosophical discovery that was discovered with the invention of Bitcoin. I'm here to help folks understand that big picture and understand Bitcoin as a new financial tool that spreads across different spectrums, different disciplines, and is very complicated but super interesting. And I personally believe it will be more revolutionary than the internet.
That was a good answer. And I've been following along on Bitcoin for 4 years or so. When we talked, we started following it around the same time. That was an answer that I understand a lot of it. I don't know if somebody has no idea what Bitcoin is, would understand all that or not. But the next thing is how much is a Bitcoin today? Because you walked in and just told me, because on the weekend, me and you were having a couple wobbly pops saying if it hits 40,000 USD, we were going to do some shots. And it was at 39,000, I think 600 USD.
Yes.
And now we're going to take a look.
I don't have reception and I'm not connected to your Wi-Fi out here in Wainfleet.
Yes.
No reception. But when I walked in before getting here, I'm pretty sure it was 44,000. And thank you very much. It's 44,000 USD. So what is that's got to be 50,000 Canadian or so?
It is 44,000.
Sorry, much higher than that.
It is just below 60,000 Canadian.
Yes.
59,928.
That's crazy.
It is crazy because we were trying to pump up to 40 a couple of days ago. I feel like it was like last night, but it was a couple of nights ago. Mm-hmm. So it's up 10% since I last seen you.
Right. And we were holding out to do our shots at 40K, and here we are, just blown through it. So this is super exciting, man. People are talking. A lot of people are talking, reaching out, getting curious, getting crypto curious.
Curious.
I'm out here trying to spread that Bitcoin bug as much as I can.
So one thing to easily say is that Bitcoin is volatile. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Like you said, it's up whatever from the beginning of time, millions of percent or whatever it is. Because I don't know. It started at like 1 cent, 4 cents.
I forget the exact listing price, but I'm pretty sure it was
super low.
Yeah, it was. In the sense.
Yeah. And now it's,
44,000 US, man. That's a lot of return. Now, again, buying Bitcoin wasn't as easy as it is today back then. Buying Bitcoin in 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13. Like I can tell you, even in 2017, I was trying to buy a lot, like not a lot, but thousands at a time. And I was having a lot of troubles finding places that would accept credit cards or connecting to your bank. The infrastructure wasn't even really there. When I was trying to get into 2017, and you're just seeing a lot of congestion on the websites at the time too. So it's great that we have a lot more onboarding ramps and more infrastructure being built. It's a new technology. Like anything new, it's going to be volatile. But I think as we go and we zoom out from those 4-year cycles, we're going to see Bitcoin become less volatile as time goes on.
Interesting.
Yes. And I think that's again part of a new technology. You see the adoption curve and how that works with new technologies and the rate that they're adopted. Eventually, we're going to see Bitcoin slow down. Each halving will have half as less impact as the last one, right? So Bitcoin miners are getting rewarded with Bitcoin every 10 minutes for trading their computational power to uphold the Bitcoin ledger, and they're rewarded for the giving out that energy and upholding that network. That every 4 years, those miner rewards are halved, and miners have to adjust and how they act. So everything's kind of pre-coded, and the economics built in are, it's very well thought out. It's 31,000 lines of code on GitHub. Like it's a very comprehensive program. And another critique is that Bitcoin isn't tangible. You can't touch it. That's not a Bitcoin? This is not a Bitcoin, believe it or not. You could probably buy one of those on Amazon or eBay or something like that for 10 or 20 bucks. But as we just saw on your phone, a Bitcoin trades for 44,000 USD. And although it's not tangible, neither is, the Facebook algorithm, neither is the Google algorithm. Yet these are billion-dollar companies built off that algorithm. And Bitcoin is, what are we looking at? $800 billion market cap. We're going to be at $1 trillion market cap.
That's insanity. And to get a market cap, that's taking the value times the amount of coins that have been created so far. Is that right?
Yes. Circulating supply multiplied by price, you get your market capitalization.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now I want to keep it simple. I mean, we're going to always get deeper, but if somebody today is watching this and they want to buy Bitcoin, how do they do that?
Right. So if you're not technically inclined, I would tell everyone to go to bitbuy.ca/halving. I got a partnership with them. They are a company of WonderFi, which is, many people know Kevin O'Leary from Dragon's Den and Shark Tank. That would be his company, and they're actually consolidating a lot of the cryptocurrency companies in Canada right now. They actually own 5 out of the 11 regulated exchanges in Canada.
Wow.
So they are the biggest. And if you are looking to ape in, say you're trying to buy a full Bitcoin, let's say you're trying to buy a full Bitcoin, you can go to bitbuy.ca/halving, get your little bonus for signing up with my link there.
I like it. Say that one more time, because if anybody's going to do it, why not give you a little love?
For sure. And hook me up if you do. Link up with me. Let me know. It's bitbuy.ca/halving.
HALVING.
Just like on the screen here. Halving.
Perfect timing.
Exactly. So yeah, they have a wire transfer feature where you could transfer in an unlimited amount of cash from your bank account, Canadian bank account, into BitBuy, and then you would show in your Canadian account there your dollars, and then you could go on to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies. However, I do recommend folks just getting into the space to just buy and hold dollar cost average into Bitcoin.
Gotcha. And dollar cost averaging would mean?
Dollar cost averaging mean, rather than going and buying $50,000 of Bitcoin today, I'm going to buy $1,000 every day over the next 50 days. Now, we're in a unique time period where Bitcoin's pumping to the moon and people might want to get in sooner than later.
Right.
So,
just like if they would have, when we met each other on the weekend, they would have had a 10% gain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's, depending on how much money you're tossing in, 10% could be a significant amount of money. But if it's regular folks or plebs, I like to refer to myself as a pleb. So
I can accept that.
Like an ordinary person, just trying to make their way and utilize Bitcoin for what it can do as a savings technology and dollar cost averaging over the way. I don't gamble too much on the altcoins, and because as we've seen, multi-billion-dollar market caps go belly up in this space real quick.
Really?
Yeah. So we've seen Terra Luna, every bear market, there's a whole bunch of cryptocurrencies, exchanges that fall, that go under. So this past cycle, FTX was the big one, and they had their token FTT. Billions of dollars just vanished, and they were connected with so many different other companies and with so many different other coins. So a lot of other coins went belly up. People were putting tons of money into these coins, thinking that they're going to be the future. And meanwhile, you know what? FTX was an exchange only around for a couple of years.
Right.
Bitcoin's been around for since 2009.
14 years, whatever.
So it's got like a big track history of safety, security, and face melting gains. So people are much better off. The normal person is much better off going into Bitcoin with a dollar cost average mindset and just kind of hold it out and zoom out. Day traders, if you know what you're doing, you could certainly make more. But if you don't know what you're doing, you could lose it all. And Bitcoin's a pretty sweet technology that people can, if they utilize it correctly, they can, be rewarded with financial freedom, self-sovereignty, and all these awesome things.
There have been lots of people become millionaires from buying Bitcoin, buying it. Imagine buying it at like 10 cents.
Oh, I probably wouldn't be in Canada right now. I would be like, I don't know. In some rich city like Dubai or something.
I don't even know. I know, right? Like I don't even know what the math is. Like if you spend $1,000 back then.
Yeah.
I think any one of us could have found $1,000 somewhere. Obviously, if we knew what we knew today. I don't even know how much that was. I don't even want to do the math because it's just craziness.
Yeah. Well, not even $1,000. Joe. Like you could put like if you go
100?
like if you go back far enough and say you're mining, maybe you're mining 50 Bitcoins from your laptop. People were mining 50 Bitcoins from their laptop. Like every 10 minutes, a miner will be rewarded. If you go back far enough, you could mine Bitcoin with your laptop. So imagine if you ran that for a couple years at the time and you were collecting Bitcoins in bunches of 50. Like that is, what would that be today? Even one miner reward of 50 back in the day before 2012.
50 coins.
50 coins today. Like you're looking at a lot of money.
20 million, 200 million. I can't even do the
I'm not a
math.
math major, but
We don't need to. It's just craziness.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the things to talk about from here, because I've been following along. Because when people were doing that, you hear the stories of like some of these guys where like they had, I don't know how many Bitcoins on their computer and it was worth pennies and they forgot about it and throw out their computer. And then later it's like worth a whole bunch more, right? I'm sure there's more than one of those stories. There's just one that I remember.
Yeah.
And the guy's been combing the same dump for like years.
Oh yeah. So I do see those pop up in the news, and they tend to pop up during bull markets because all of a sudden they get to price how many coins that person has stuck on their laptop. Oh my God, it's worth $100 million. So as that price goes up, there's just more and more incentive to find that wallet, right?
Yeah.
And and just kind of circling back to, self-custody versus exchanges. Exchanges become honeypots, right? So FTX or even BitBuy, like obviously these people are professionals and they're protecting the funds, but the more funds you have in one wallet, the more eyes that are on it and the more people and more hackers might try to get at it, right?
Totally.
So when you have it on yourself, like I have here, we got the BitFi wallet that I use. Oh, and then we have the Trezor that I use as well. And I recommend the both.
That one's got a screen on it?
This one's got a screen on it. Yeah, it's
So
got a
it'll show you how
screen.
much is on there.
It'll show you how much is on here.
Interesting. The Trezor does not do that.
No, there is a dashboard. There's a Trezor Suite. It's an application you download. But Trezor's great because they're the most reputable. They're the longest. They're like the first ever cryptocurrency hardware wallet company. So they have a long track record, and just seems like a really good company. They have open source software and just a lot of tools within that suite. So I recommend them both. But again, if you don't know what you're doing, you want to go to bitbuy.ca/halving.
Love it.
Yep, and get started there. And you can always withdraw your cryptocurrencies from there as well into private custody when you're ready to take that step.
Because there's pros and cons to both having it on an exchange and then having it yourself.
Yes.
And like to me, it seems like the best solution to have a wallet so that you're in complete control of that. Because when you have it on a platform, we've seen them get hacked, or I don't even know if one of them, did the one guy just leave with all the money? I don't even know.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're talking, there's been so many stories now. There's been so many exchanges that have went belly up.
Right.
That, there's just, like I said, they become honeypots, and if they all it takes is incompetence. It's not all malicious. It could be incompetence. It could be hackers. So insurance is another big thing in crypto now. And I've actually just had some people that do crypto insurance as well on my podcast. And we kind of went into that and how important that is for crypto startups, Web3. So we talked a lot about that as well.
Tell me about that, because I don't know anything about Bitcoin insurance or crypto insurance.
Yeah, so there's on-chain risk and then there's off-chain risk. So on-chain risk would be, hacks, losing private keys, something to do with actually happening on the blockchain. But a really interesting fact that stuck with me there with those folks is that 100% of their claims were off-chain claims. So something which they refer to everything that happens in the real world. So just maybe incompetence within the company, not always on-chain insurance. But I will say that the exchange I've been recommending to folks here on this podcast, BitBuy, they actually have a 1-to-1 ratio asset reserve, and they have insurance, and they go through, I think it's a quarterly audit. So very safe place to get started in crypto. And like you said, there's disadvantages and advantages. If you want to jump in and out of cryptos real quick, you want to do some trading, you can do that on BitBuy. If you're looking for, buy and hold and accumulate, and self-sovereignty, you want to go with the self-custody method. And I recommend anybody going the first way of using a centralized exchange to eventually learn how to take control of your private keys and feel comfortable operating that. And myself started paying attention to this space in 2017 as well. Like I still feel a little, butterflies in my stomach and making a huge transaction that there's no intermediary, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like you could be, sending quite a bit of money and, a misclick or anything.
One number wrong.
Yeah. Like you could possibly lose it all and there's no recourse on that, man. So
That's so scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just back to that, you said a 1-to-1 reserve. So what does that mean exactly?
So that means that they actually have what they say they have. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with fractional reserve banking, which is the type of banking we have in our legacy financial system. They don't have the money that they lend out, right? They just lend out that money 10-to-1 or whatever it is. I know rules and things changed during COVID, but essentially it's a fractional reserve banking system. And BitBuy is keeping that ratio in stock. So
1-to-1.
Yeah. So yes, exactly. They have that on reserve. They actually have those Bitcoins that they say they have. They're not, lending them in malicious ways or trying to make an extra 5% on them by trading it. They have that stored offline in smart custodial services.
So then a couple of questions about that. When somebody does go onto bitbuy.ca
Yes.
/halving,
Yeah.
and they buy, who are they buying from?
Well, they're buying from BitBuy, the company that brokers it.
They have coins there. It's not like if I went on there to buy, it's not like it's taking it from somebody else that's trying to sell it there. They do have some type of reserve, or
they do have a reserve because people are holding those coins on their website. So they need to actually have those coins, not 50% of them, because then when everybody goes to withdraw at the same time and they don't have those coins, that's when you see everybody freaking out. Where's my coins, right? And then, they're locked up in lawsuits for years to come, or whatever happened there. If anything ever happened and they don't have those coins. Same thing is a bank run. So if we haven't really experienced that in Canada, but other countries around the world have seen where they go to the bank and they just don't have that money for them. And that's scary, right? You see big lineups at the ATMs. Again, we've been stable enough in Canada that we haven't really seen those conditions yet. But we are seeing, rising hyperinflation rates. We've seen, the CPI reports. They're not always, I don't think, 100% accurate. Like you probably a little bit know about inflation as well. But, we're talking about say real estate inflation. If it's the market's up 20% year over year and you're trying to buy a house, well, the inflation rate's 20% for you buying that house. It's not 7% based on, DVD players and whatever else is on the consumer price index. It's based on what you're trying to buy at the time. So, the inflation's a big thing when it comes to Bitcoin. Because it's a pre-coded amount of inflation each year. And again, we might be getting a little deeper than our normies want to get into Bitcoin. But like I said, there's a lot of information to intake. If you're looking to just get in and kind of ride the price up, and I would say just go to BitBuy and you could get in from there to get started.
It's been a really interesting ride following along, and like we haven't got to here yet, but consuming some content because there's books out there and videos. I can't even remember the content I've consumed on it, but looking back, it's definitely an interesting ride along the way with the different points in time that have had ups and downs effects on the coin. And like you said, trying to wield back, because I think a lot of people that are knowledgeable of Bitcoin, like yourself or myself, we think that like the number it's at today is far from where it's going to go to. Nobody's got the crystal ball. There is like some trends, and I'm sure we'll get into those over the halvings. But it's definitely interesting to see where it can go to, because I personally think that just like we were talking about John McAfee a little bit when he was calling 1 million back in the day, a little bit, maybe a little soon. I think it'll hit 1 million at some point. I don't know when. I don't know if we'll be alive. I hope we are. I'm not sure. But yeah, like I to the moon, and I think is going to happen. I mean, 14 years of it happening. What's going to stop it? But some people say to me, like, could it go to zero? And I don't know if it could. I don't know what it would take to make it actually go to zero. I don't know how that would even actually happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are some big points that you brought up there. Like the fact, going to $1 million. Everybody likes that number.
Yeah.
Bitcoin to $1 million. John McAfee famously said he'd eat his own dick on TV, on live TV, if it wasn't $1 million by the end of 2020. Obviously, that was way too bullish at the time, but it was easy to say that because the price was running, right?
It was running hot when he was saying it.
Oh, yeah, man. Anything he was talking about was running hot at the time. All types of alternative currencies. It was just that big run up at the end of 2017.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it could ever go to zero. I think there'd just be some diehards.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest threats to the blockchain is what they call a 51% attack. And that means somebody else has gotten 51% of the computing power of Bitcoin, and they're now, they can change what they want because they have the majority.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, because
I haven't heard about this.
Yes,
Interesting.
So something for you to Google is the 51% attack. But as Michael Saylor recently said, I'm not sure if it was recent. I recently saw him say that he's comparing how much power is behind in upholding the Bitcoin network and how much computing power is given to the Bitcoin network with all these new advanced machines, ASICs they call them, that are specifically designed to mine Bitcoin. Like he's comparing the power, and he says like the power of Bitcoin is far greater than like the U.S. naval force. He's like, when it comes to getting more power than the Bitcoin network or how much you would need to compete with it, he's like, you would need all of it. He's like, you would need all of the servers of Microsoft. You would need all of the Amazon, the Google servers. You would all come together, and you still wouldn't be able to get to the power behind Bitcoin.
At the 51% or the whole thing?
Like in order to gather more power than the Bitcoin network, more computing power, offer that to the network. Gotcha. If you had the majority of the power, you could then start making malicious changes.
Interesting.
Right. But there's still mechanisms in order to battle that, but that is one of the greater threats and things discussed philosophically when it comes to Bitcoin security is the 51% attack. But
so I want to pivot a little bit from that. That's interesting. But the creator of Bitcoin.
Yes.
His name again?
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Satoshi Nakatomo. Did
I say that right? Satoshi Nakamoto.
Nakamoto.
Yes.
Nobody knows who this is.
Correct.
Which is when I've had conversations with people, get them to lean back towards it's a scam because they don't know who created it, which I find interesting. But so
it's funny because the Bitcoin community sees Satoshi backing away from the project as the most noble thing ever somebody could ever do, because sitting in Satoshi's Bitcoin wallet is 1.1 million Bitcoins, which we both know is worth a hell of a lot of money. So the fact that he hasn't touched that, I think speaks volumes for a decentralized community. So he's not out there. It's more of a philosophical endeavor rather than a getting rich endeavor. So when you want to call it a scam, and we'll look at the very first Genesis block that Satoshi mined. He inscribed the famous New York Times article about Chancellor on the brink of bailouts. So all the banks were getting bailed out after the 2008 financial collapse. He inscribed a newspaper headline in the very first Bitcoin block there. This is a project built very philosophically, not just a scam, get rich quick scheme. This is to battle, the inflationary dollar. Government's ability to just print endless amounts of money with no repercussions. Now we have a tool, right? We have Bitcoin. We can ape into Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin, and it may not be as much like a lot of the assets we see go up in value because just of inflation, right? It's not that all these assets are going that much higher. It's that the dollar is being worth less and less and less every year, and we're seeing it at a very, very rapid rate now that we went through COVID-19. Printing additional money for people, and just all that spending catches up with a currency after a while. So, we have that tool now. Satoshi's, left us that awesome revolutionary technology, which is Bitcoin. It's a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. That's the title of the white paper that he released on on Halloween in 2008, I do believe, and then to launch Bitcoin, the network, in 2009. And yeah, Satoshi, if he ever touched that wallet, I think it would change things a little bit in the Bitcoin community, depending on what transpired after. But I personally don't think that'll ever happen. I don't know if Satoshi is a person or a group of people.
Right.
Not sure if he or she or other. We don't really know anything. There's been a couple people to claim that they've been Satoshi, but until they actually sign a transaction and move those keys, move the Bitcoin,
right,
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I just don't believe it. I think Satoshi's exited himself from the community. He thinks Bitcoin's outgrown him. It's more of a communal thing now. He stepped back, and there actually was a guy, I think he was in Los Angeles, an Asian fellow that with the name Satoshi Nakamoto. So people obviously round up and thought this guy was him. And if you even Google Satoshi Nakamoto, his face will come right up. But he claims that he has nothing to do with the project.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think we know.
So there's people out there that know who it is. Like, because I remember looking into that a little bit, and like there was people working on the project, right? Like you're saying it's a person or a group or whatever. Mm-hmm. But other than whoever that is, there's got to be some people that know.
Well, I do have another book that is the transcription of anything Satoshi Nakamoto ever said to anybody. All of his emails, all of his forums, because all this just existed on nerd websites, cryptography websites, where it's a very niche community of people talking about it.
Getting that deep into it.
You don't meet these people in real life. You got to be online, right? So all these interactions were over online. And then, so I don't know if anybody actually met him in real life or if he had put himself out there. There's really no record of it. And he then passed the project on to somebody else as he exited the community, and he announced that he was going to do that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, because I'm trying to think back, because it's been years since I've looked at that. Because there's a lot of communications between people that were online. So even the people that were directly communicating with him probably never actually met him in real life.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, unless they were in on
right.
it or somehow, and which they were. I mean, they very much were, because he was bouncing ideas off of them and speaking to them and having people, challenge the code. And like I said, it's an open source project, so anybody can put their 2 cents into it if you're smart enough to be able to decipher the code, right?
Mm-hmm. So just. It's like so deep.
Yeah.
It's like so deep.
It's hard not to get deep with Bitcoin.
I know. It's like you can keep it surface or get deep on it. But going back, you made a comment that I find a little bit interesting, trying to comprehend it, because you were saying one of the initial things was to, battle or have a check in place against inflation, right? Mm-hmm. There was something along the lines with that, with the beginning philosophy. But if it's up millions of percent or whatever, is that contradictory, or is that in line with that?
Well, I think it's in line with that. Obviously, it's not just because of inflation why the price went up so much. It actually went up because people were willing to pay a lot more for Bitcoin. And, a lot of smart people recognize this. So I'm going to reference Bitcoin Billionaires, this black covered book right here. Mm-hmm. I have a signed copy by the Winklevoss twins. So
amazing.
Winklevoss twins, for those of you who don't know, sued Mark Zuckerberg for Facebook for $60 million back in the day, which Mark paid and went on to create, multi-billion-dollar Facebook, now Meta. Company, right? So these guys, went on a hiatus, and eventually we're looking for the next big thing, and they came across Bitcoin, and they seen a couple of governments struggle around the world, and Bitcoin act as a savior for a lot of the citizens there, to be able to move money out of the country where maybe a government was suppressing them from their financial access. So all you need is access to the internet to be able to work with Bitcoin. And when you start talking about oppressive governments, that's Bitcoin's again a tool for these people who we don't see it as that here in first world countries where we have access to all these legacy financial tools. People, how many billion people are unbanked across the world, and Bitcoin will be their very first money account, digitally.
Wild.
Yeah. So
Could
anyways,
it be the global currency?
yeah, I think it's going to be the people's money.
It could be.
Yeah, I think so, man. Like, we're in what's the year? 2023.
Almost 2024.
Almost
We could
2024.
round there if you want to.
Let's go. Let's say we're 2024. Bitcoin's at, not even $1 trillion market cap, but we're approaching very quickly. We're going to soar through $1 trillion market cap this cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Gold is what, $10 trillion market cap? Within 14 years, we're on the list with gold and silver and Apple and whatever the other biggest assets in the world are, real estate, right? Like, how many trillions of dollars are each of those assets? And within this small time frame, we've seen Bitcoin transcend all the way into these asset classes. And I think that's a pattern with technology, is that they're adopted faster and faster. So sorry
to interrupt. I used to, at one point when I was paying a little bit more closer attention, look at, because I think they have a user count somewhere where you can see new adopters, or isn't there something like that?
Yes. There's Glassnode is a very good tool to check out those sorts of stats.
And through the bear markets, that you see those numbers increasing more, right?
Yeah,
because it gets the hype.
Yes.
Right.
So interestingly, they often compare the amount of Bitcoin users to the amount of internet users in the 90s. And we're seeing the same sort of pattern and trends of Bitcoin adoption with internet adoption. You can see the technology is being adopted, and a lot more people, like, soon everybody once we get to $70,000 US Bitcoin, everybody who's ever bought Bitcoin will be in the money at that time.
Will be in the positive. Nobody in the negative.
Like, that's a super cool thing, but
That
short-lived.
is, yeah.
It'll be short-lived.
That's interesting. I want to touch, bro. This is an amazing conversation, because I don't have a lot of people that I can talk to in real life that understand Bitcoin. So I appreciate this again. Even for you have something you want to say?
Well, I do, but yeah, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, and I'll just plug again.
Yeah.
It's bitbuy.ca/halving.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Go there. Get started.
What I want to touch on is the 21 million. I don't know if you want to talk about that first or whatever you're going to bring up. So it's either or.
Let's do 21 million.
Okay.
So
let me start. Let me
okay,
preface
you
it
go.
a little. Let me
Yes.
because you're so knowledgeable on this. So this is one of the interesting parts. One of the many interesting parts for Bitcoin for me is that there's a finite amount of Bitcoin, and is it 21 million even, or is it a weird
21
number?
even.
21 even. So that to me is interesting, and it for me helps build value in it, that there's only so much of it. So it's just like anything else, when there's a limited supply, like the value should be going up on that as long as demand is still there. And what's interesting to me too about the 21 million is 21 million. We're not there yet. We're at 18 or 19? I don't
19
know.
something, I do believe.
19. So we're pretty close to the end of it, even though it'll still take a long time to get there with the halvings.
Yes.
But from that 19 million that exists right now, not all of them are actually in existence, because some of it have gone poofski, like we talked about in the garbage cans, or
yes,
however people have lost them. I don't even know, like, for people that on an exchange where 1 million Bitcoin gets stolen, those still exist though. That's different than like somebody that lost it into
right,
or locked their wallet forever or something, which can happen.
Yes, you're 100% right on that. So, hack coins usually get redistributed, and it goes through, it'll go through a whole bunch of obscure exchanges, and they'll transfer it all to ETH, and then back to Monero, and back to Bitcoin, and back around. So it makes very difficult for regulators to follow it. Yeah. So they usually wash it, they call it washing, of course, just like we would with, fiat money. So yeah, the limit's 21 million. The last Bitcoin will be mined in the year 2140. That brings us, every 4 years, there'll be a halving until 2140. And then Bitcoin miners will just be rewarded in transaction fees.
After that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, yeah, finite resource, which is, key to a currency that you want to hold its value.
Right.
So like traditionally we've seen gold as that play that role, right? Because it takes a long time to mine the gold that we have available in stock now. And Bitcoin is increasingly going that direction, is actually going to be even more rare than gold, I do believe, after this next halving. So that being said, yeah, we have lots of millions of Bitcoins that are a few million Bitcoins that are out there in the ether that'll probably never be touched again. And, you know, we can look at that as a free coin burn.
Right.
Free coin burn for all the Bitcoin holders, right? Because
Right.
that makes your Bitcoin a little bit more scarce. But you know, I don't wish that on my worst enemy for anyone to lose their coins.
Oh man, that's
Like there's no worse feeling than that. So, you know, and you know, I've been there. I know what it's like to lose money in crypto. I came in, want like a lot of new people. I came in and wanted to outpace Bitcoin, so I bought alternative cryptocurrencies, altcoins. 99% of them end up belly up.
Right.
They don't go anywhere. So just be very careful and know that you're gambling when you're investing in any other cryptocurrency outside of Bitcoin.
right. Because we were looking at some of the coins that I have
Yeah.
that just pay attention a little bit to. And I just want to name off some. We don't even have to get into them or anything. I don't know. We can deal with it how you want. I just want, because there are a whole bunch of cryptos out there. Like we are definitely focusing on Bitcoin, but there's others out there. I have an ad on my thing here. And it's interesting, those ones too. The one that I found interesting too, that I haven't been paying attention to, that I think is like a fake coin or whatever, maybe not, but Dogecoin.
Yeah.
I don't even know exactly. I think it was made as a joke at first.
Yes.
But like Elon pumped it a whole bunch of times, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know. But that one I always thought was funny because like does it have any value or not value or use at all other than, isn't it just like a meme? Like
Yes.
literally.
Yes, it was a meme and they turned it into a coin. It's actually, it runs like the most basic version of like Bitcoin software, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like a very simplified version of Bitcoin. And, you know, I think it's unfortunate. I love Elon Musk, but I do find
too.
it unfortunate that I don't agree with everything he says, but
Yeah.
the way he pumps Dogecoin on Twitter and everything, the world would be a much better place if he was talking about Bitcoin. And that's why I love Jack, you know, previous owner of Twitter. He's actually, you know, he stepped down from Twitter and he's all Bitcoin.
Really?
So like that's got to speak volumes to a lot of people. Like I feel like he's transcended this whole idea of public converse, and he wants to focus on what's going to make the biggest changes in the world. And he's very Bitcoin centric.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yes, Bitcoin only. Jack Dorsey. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and I feel the same thing with Elon. I like Elon a lot. I don't follow him super closely. The other day I started watching that recent interview that he did. Did you see?
Was that on CNBC or?
I think so. It's like an hour and 13 minutes long or something.
Okay, I think I just seen some clips. Is that the one where he's telling everybody,
fuck you and stuff?
Yeah.
Like to the don't blackmail me, don't
Right.
whatever. Yeah. Like, yeah, Elon is definitely like an interesting guy. And I find it interesting when he pumps Doge. I have to think he does it just kind of for his own little, like, because he knows it's a joke.
Yeah.
And he's like, if I put this out, is it actually, he's got to know. Maybe the first time he didn't know it was going to pump. I don't know.
Well, interestingly, although he talks about Dogecoin, you know, Tesla never bought Dogecoin for the reserves, but they did buy Bitcoin. So don't watch what they say, watch what they're doing. And like I said, Dogecoin is a simplified version of Bitcoin. They print billions of it a year. So they try to keep the price low, I think, for newcomers to come in. Because a big thing is, I find newcomers, they want the feeling of owning a whole thing.
Yeah,
and they're like, well, Bitcoin is out of my price range, so I can't buy Bitcoin. I'm like, it doesn't matter about buying a full coin.
You don't need a full
matters
coin.
about utilizing the technology. It's a savings technology, and you're going to make, you know, percentage. It's all about the percentage that you're gaining. It has nothing to do with owning a full coin. Although it does, you know, satisfy some people to own a full coin.
Yeah.
There's just not enough Bitcoins out there for every millionaire to own a full one. So it's going to become quite challenging. It's already very challenging. Like we're talking, who's willing to fork up, 60 grand Canadian for a Bitcoin right now?
One coin. I
right?
know.
Nobody wants to ape in that hard.
It's big time. So I want to take a moment because hopefully years down the road, we're sitting on a beach somewhere enjoying some cocktails and we're watching this podcast reflecting back when it was only 44,000, laughing about us talking about it 4 cents because now it's whatever. But just for fun, I'm going to name off some of the coins that I've just got on the watch and some prices just for fun. Maybe we'll enjoy it later. So, and this is only in order of how they have them. That's the only thing. So Ethereum, it's at $22.93 USD. Bitcoin Cash, $2.52 American cents. Ripple XRP, which is interestingly enough down today just a third of a point, but it's at 62 cents. Litecoin, $74.44. Basic attention coin, BAT, 24.5 cents. Cardano, that's one I've heard quite a bit of people talking about, 42.5 cents. I don't know how many I'm going to go through here. I don't know if you're getting sick of this or if I should start skipping some.
No, that's all good. I'm somewhat familiar with most of those currencies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Chills, CHZ.
Chills? I'm not familiar with that one though.
It's almost 8 cents. Crypto.com.
Okay.
Is at that's not 10, 9, almost 10 cents.
Yep.
The Dogecoin is at almost 10 cents. That's so funny.
Yeah. Dogecoin.
I'll just skip maybe to some. I mean, there's Dogeland Mars. I don't know what that is. Engine Coin. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Harmony. Do you know that one? I don't know.
Not really, no.
Hedera, Holo, Polygon.
Yeah.
Quaint, Shibu Inu. That one.
Yeah, another meme coin.
Didn't that go to zero?
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, it's not trading.
The supply. Is that it? Really?
I don't know.
The supply is so big on these coins that like they talk about volatility. Like, are you kidding me? I would never, waste my, if you want to gamble, at the beginning of a cycle, knowing that you're gambling, like if you're throwing your money in at those things, like I get it. You're $1,000. Maybe it'll turn into $1 million, but there's a 99% chance that you're probably just going to lose it or, a bad trade or something. So
I'll just finish these and we'll keep going. Solana.
Yeah. Solana Soldiers.
Yeah. Stellar Lumens, XLM. I've heard of that one.
Yep. IBM.
Terra, Luna, the Sandbox, Theta, and VeChain. So, yeah, I don't think we need to get into what all the coins do or anything, but I just wanted to make a point of a couple of them, a couple of the prices.
For sure. Well, yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell you about all
no,
the coins.
I'm not expecting you.
There's a few I could maybe touch upon there, but there's so many different alternative currencies out there, cryptocurrencies. But you really got to look at what makes a currency valuable. So I will reference The Seventh Property. It's this second book here, right here by Eric Yakes. He's a guest I had on my podcast. I've had about take a look at that one. Mm-hmm. So that one's great because it goes through the history of money and what stipulations make a currency valuable. So, there's durability, fungibility, scarcity. There's 6 main traits that he focuses on in there, which gives a currency's value. And then he introduces the 7th property of a currency, which is introduced through Bitcoin, and that's immutability. Mm-hmm. So what's great about the blockchain is once the blockchain is confirmed, once that transaction is confirmed on the blockchain, it's immutable. There's no changing the blockchain. So this is a new monetary property that Bitcoin possesses that no other currency in our history ever possessed before. So I will recommend this one for new people too. It's a really good resource to learn about legacy financial system and how Bitcoin fits into this new paradigm.
So actually I want to play off that a little bit. I want to take that. Somebody that's watching this that has never dug deep or has or anything, what would you say would be the first piece of content that they should watch or read to just start? It's
a good question, Joe, because there's a lot of content out there now.
Yeah, there is.
But I will reference a YouTube video. It's about 20 minutes long, and this I remember like pretty vividly. I was at my old condo in St. Catharines watching this video, and it just really clicked for me. I watched this YouTube video. It's called Bitcoin Under the Hood. And it really just explains, it breaks down what's happening in the background with this software. And it just shows you how it's just an accounting system that's transparent. How does Bitcoin work? 22 minutes. That's it right here, man. One? Yeah. It's got, oh, look at that. 3.1 million views. It's 10 years old. You know, clearly it's done well. But this, for whatever reason, this video just struck a chord with me. And I was like, wow, this is exactly what we need.
How Bitcoin works under the hood.
Yes, under the hood, Bitcoin, YouTube. I recommend it.
Curious Investor, 3.1 million views, posted 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's a great spot to start.
Well, yeah. And I mean, like, a lot of people might not want to commit to the hours that it takes to read all these books, right? But if you want like a under the hood of what's happening with the code, what Bitcoin does, there it is. And, you know, there's a whole, you know, philosophical rabbit hole you can go down with Bitcoin as well, right? That people might have motive to invest, right? It's sort of like voting with your dollars, like you're protesting. Buying Bitcoin, I see as a protest to the current system. Like you're deciding to take your money and put it in a system that, you know, goes against all the norms that we're used to in the legacy financial system. So
because that is still one, and I don't think we have to get into that. I don't know if you want to or not, but I still have, I think, just a very, I wouldn't say basic or general understanding of how regular fiats work and how it all works with the like central banks and how it's created. And then, like you said, fractional banking. These things are all like concepts that I've been exposed to, but I haven't spent enough time in a conversation like this to fully grasp it all.
Right.
Because like
you can't grasp it all in one conversation. If you're interested in Bitcoin, you know, consuming any type of content to start off is good. Like you're starting to learn about it. And people that say, you know, it's a scam, usually they haven't done much research into it. And it just, it comes off scammy. Internet money, of course, right? Oh, it's not backed by the government. Well, sure. Surface level, it come off as the biggest pyramid scam in the world. You start looking under the hood, understanding it, and you realize, wow, this is decades in the making. You know, some super smart cryptographers have really come together and pulled off some revolutionary technology that's going to, you know, change the way we act and interact with money, interact with each other. The way we say, well, you know, if we're on a Bitcoin standard, we're incentivized to save our money. If we have $10,000 in the bank, well, we're incentivized to spend that because it's a melting ice cube, because every year that it's in there, you're losing. Again, going back to, you know, if you're buying real estate, big real estate's up 20%, you're got 20% inflation.
Money devalues.
Your money is devaluing so quickly. Yeah. Whereas Bitcoin, you can chuck it in there as a new type of savings technology. You can leave it there for a long time. The longer you leave it there, the more you're rewarded. So you're rewarded for not touching your Bitcoin.
So was Bitcoin created more as to hodl or as a currency?
Well, it's a good question. I personally believe, and people have differing opinions on this, but I personally believe it was created to as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, because that's the title of the white papers. And people used to be able to send Bitcoin to you instantly for essentially nothing, no fees, instantaneous. You can't do that anymore with Bitcoin because it's gotten so popular and congested. You know, you're going to pay at least a few dollars for a Bitcoin transaction. So that's where you have all these other currencies coming out, trying to battle that. But I think it's evolved into a store of value and a savings technology, less of a, you know, peer-to-peer transaction system. Like, I'm not going to go buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin on chain because, you know, the transaction fee is going to be more than the cup of coffee. It doesn't make any sense.
It's still for peer-to-peer versus using it as cash for now.
It's more people are storing it as a long-term hold than using peer-to-peer.
But peer-to-peer over like day-to-day purchasing, because people are still transferring Bitcoin amongst each other.
Yep.
But it wouldn't be, oh, thanks for picking up the coffee tab today. It would be like,
right.
I don't even know. Like, we're going in on a venture together.
Yeah, true. Yeah, or, you know, here's 10. Can I buy 10 grand off you or something? Like someone might do that as like a private transaction.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of development happening though. There's something called the Lightning Network, which is a layer on top of Bitcoin. It's obviously more centralized because it's settling transactions in a bunch. So you're letting people transact, and then they'll with like minute amounts of satoshis. Do you know what a satoshi is?
Is that a 1/1,000,000th of a Bitcoin or no?
You got it.
Is it?
Yes. One.
Okay.
Well, sorry. 1/100th millionth. Yeah.
So
So 100 million satoshis make up a Bitcoin.
Okay. It's the smallest part of a Bitcoin you can buy
That's right.
or own or whatever.
Yes.
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 Okay.
So a lot of people price it in satoshis now, right? So
Yeah.
sorry. What I don't even know what we were talking. Where were we going with this?
We're having lots of good conversations.
I was okay. So
we were talking peer to peer.
Oh yes, I think it's evolved. It's evolved into a store of value.
Lightning.
Yeah, Lightning Network is another layer being adopted on Bitcoin that's basically allows more transactions and more transactions throughput. So you're not waiting a day for your Bitcoin to transaction to go through and paying super high fees, but most of it happens through a centralized manner. So again, you're coming down to philosophical arguments. And one thing I was going to mention too is that a good way to look at cryptocurrencies, or maybe it's a good way, but someone said this once and I thought it was interesting, and that all these competing cryptocurrencies are almost like competing religions. So you got like the Solana soldiers, the XRP people, you got the Ethereum people, you got the Bitcoiners, the Bitcoin maximalists, and Bitcoin is basically the biggest religion of them all. So they're going to have the loudest voice, they're the loudest community, and they're competing with each other. It's a free market, so anybody can copy the Bitcoin code and make their own cryptocurrency just like that. It's pretty easy to do to make your own token or cryptocurrency now. Not that it will trade for any value, but
you could have one.
Exactly. You could make one for right choice. Maybe you have like an airdrop. You hear some reward tokens, maybe, or give out some tokens, and you could do it just for fun. Not to say that it has any value, but a lot of people use tokens to incentivize or use it as a rewards program.
Do you know anybody that's done that? Have you talked to anybody?
Like, so for instance, I don't know, a lot of people in crypto are interested in Bitcoin might know BitBoy.
Yeah.
BitBoy. So Ben Armstrong, he doesn't want to be called BitBoy anymore because
he's gone through some stuff lately.
Yes, he's had a very drama-filled life in the past little while. So it's quite the crypto show. But anyways, he had a Ben coin. These guys, Bad Crypto Podcast has their Bad coin. So I never used it, but I even created a Halving report token just for fun once, and sent a couple million to a couple friends and just messing around with it. So you can definitely utilize the technology into your company and
interesting.
Utilize blockchain.
So you have some friends that have millions of your coin. It's just it has no value right now.
It has no value. It doesn't trade anywhere. I was just messing around.
Yeah, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
So it's pretty cool. But Joe,
yes,
I thought there was something you should know about. I'm not sure if you already know about. You probably do. You probably do know about Bitcoin Pizza Day. Have you heard of it?
I know it wasn't the first transaction with Bitcoin for pizza.
It. Yeah.
I don't remember how many Bitcoins it was.
Well, it was 10,000. It was the first physical. It was the first transaction, real world Bitcoin transaction. It was for 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin, which again would be an astronomical number these days. But that was way back in so May 22nd in 2010. Bitcoin Pizza Day. So I think May 22nd we got to eat a Bitcoin pizza or something. I don't know.
May 22nd, I'm down. So just some quick math. So 10,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
For two pizzas.
Yeah.
So one pizza was only 5,000 Bitcoin. It was cheap.
Yeah.
And if that was today, it would be 220 million USD.
Yeah. Probably should have held it, right? Rather than buying your pizzas with it, but it was cool to see
who it was or who the pizzeria was.
I don't know the pizzeria, but now you're thinking.
I'd go do a review there.
Yeah, that would be super cool. You'll probably have to go to Europe. I think it was like his name is Lazio. You can see the name right here. I'm not sure. I'll probably butcher that if I try to pronounce it.
I butcher normal names. Laszlo Henyes says.
Yeah. So
2 pizzas for 10,000.
I'm not sure the pizzeria joint offhand, but
that's something for me to look into.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I want to say it was like Papa John's or something.
I'm just going to do a quick Google.
Yeah. Okay.
What pizza, I don't normally do this, but what pizzeria was the first Bitcoin used at? Papa John's Pizzas. Happy Bitcoin Pizza Day on May 22nd, 2010. Laszlo paid Jeremy Sturviat 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 Papa John's pizzas, which were delivered to his home. Exchange is widely celebrated because it is viewed as a first. So, it was Papa John's. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure you've already done Papa John's a few times or what?
Yeah, Papa John's, not that one, but that's still interesting.
Oh, do you do different locations as different, like a chain? Would you do different locations as different ratings, or would you just say all Papa John's is a 7 or whatever you give it?
I've run into different chain things with that. So like with Pete's Pizza, not Pizza, Pete's, which is a local chain around here.
Yep.
I've done all of their locations because they're all different. When it comes to like the big chains, I don't tend to go to all their locations, but I'll tend to try their different, like I'll still get cheese pepperoni, but like Little Caesars has like deep dish, or they had like a Batman calzone, or like thin crust, or those things. But I don't tend to just keep going to them because they're pretty close.
Yeah.
The big chains on consistency for the most part. But,
Interesting.
yeah.
So while I'm here, Joe, I think I want to ask you a little bit about content creation, because we're in Niagara here, and we don't have a ton of content creators. Like we were talking about this the other day, like a small portion of people are creating content, and then an even smaller portion of that are consistently uploading, which you said is obviously a pillar, and many people say number one thing to do.
Number one.
But there was like few things. You said there was like 3 major things, not just.
So I'm happy to switch the conversation to content creation for sure. So when creating content, like we're talking about, the first thing I encourage everybody, like people here at Right Choice, people I'm talking to, I love to see that you're creating content and in a cool space. But number one is consistency. This beats everything. Like you pick a schedule and you stick to it. You can always improve it. Like when I started, it was once a week. I was posting every Monday morning when I was doing Must See Mondays. That was restaurant videos. And you can build on that. We can talk about where I think people can start and an end expert goal, which I'm not even at, but I'm flirting with. Mm-hmm. But that's the first thing, is being consistent. So you pick your schedule, you stick to it however you have to. Like we talked about, the advice I was giving you was, if you're posting once a week, which is what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Is not just to record once a week, it's to record a few, so that if for 1 week you can't record, or 2 weeks, you have a hopper so that you can stay to your schedule. That's traditional TV. When a sitcom goes on TV, they're not recording each episode each week unless it's Saturday Night Live. But Seinfeld, they film 10, 15, 20 episodes and then start releasing it. Or unless, I don't know if maybe they start releasing them while they're halfway through or whatever. I'm not exactly sure, but building a pillar or a hopper. But then from there, the next thing is just making improvements. So to me, that's with anything. I see that as, to me, success is making improvements. That's to me, how I define success. To me, success is not a destination. It's just you're constantly trying to get somewhere and being better along the way. So I apply that to content creation, because you can always get better. there's so much room. It's endless ways to get better. We both kind of mentioned Mr. Beast a little bit, and you can, it depends on how far you want to break it down, and you don't have to make huge changes ever, as long as you're making micro steps. Mm-hmm. And if you're staying consistent to your schedule of once a week, you look back after a year and you'll be able to see all the improvements, and there's always room to go.
Oh yeah.
So to me, those are things. And then the next thing is as you get into that routine, it's about just increasing to where your capacity is. With myself, the content schedule I'm running is I'm posting 4 pizza reviews a week. So those are I call them timeless pieces of content too, because it doesn't matter when you watch it, it's still relevant. It's not
what if they change the recipe?
Yeah, and that could definitely happen, but it's something that's not timeless. Is I don't know, if you're addressing current events,
right?
Maybe it's kind of interesting later-ish,
right.
But it's not like at any point somebody could go to one of my pizza reviews and still enjoy that content because maybe they want to go to that pizzeria, maybe they want to watch it or whatever.
And it's timeless for everybody, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's some pieces of content that will be timeless because of who I'm interviewing. Like if I have someone that's a Bitcoin OG or somebody, a big name in the space that's going to make a lot of waves for years to come, like people will always search and
Right.
like look for obscure interviews with them that aren't mainstream. So those are very good points. And yeah, I think that's probably more challenging on if I'm reporting on, current price of Bitcoin. Well, it's
Yeah.
not going to be too relevant. It might be cool to go back on in a couple of years when Bitcoin's parabolic and we're talking about today's price.
Right.
But yeah, some things that's really good that you can create that timeless content.
Yeah.
Now, question for you: like, what was your motivation with the pizza reviews? Was it your love for pizza? Was it like Dave Portnoy? Like, what? How'd you go down this?
So yeah, it doesn't just start at pizza. It starts back when I started creating content and how that started. Because pizza reviews have been a couple pivots to get there. So like I'm talking about that consistency and all that, like it's shaped from when I started. And I started in content creation because I work in real estate. I own Right Choice Happenings Realty, not this slide, but it'll be up. And even before I owned Right Choice was when I got into content. And it's as a realtor, when you're working as a realtor, the first thing that we're hired to do, like if you called me to sell your house, I don't know if you know realtor friends or not, but I'm going to use this example. But if you call me to sell your house and we've determined that I'm going to represent you, the first thing I have to do once we list your house is market your property. And how am I going to do that? And I was doing it before, traditional ways with some of my like takes on it when I started. Like I did have a Facebook account and had like posted my listings on Facebook. When I started, I was doing what I thought was a good job because like 10 years ago when I started in the industry, there was a bunch of realtors that didn't even have a Facebook account. Like I would be in the office helping them print PDFs, not talking about how many views my listing got and the duration people were on the listing. And then after they were done watching my listing, they looked at my other listings. We were checkers and 4D chess,
Right.
different things here, right? But as I'm doing that, I had one buddy that I had been friends with for years, and we reconnected. We hadn't talked for a bit, and he told me my marketing was shit. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, it's terrible. And I had, at that time, had a company out of Montreal posting on my Facebook page 3 times a week,
Wow.
being consistent with, but they were posting like 5 ways to organize your closet, 10 things to prepare for spring, this, that, or the other. And I thought I was being top of mind by posting, but these would get, I don't know if it would get a like. I could see the reach. It would get like 17 reach.
Yeah.
So it was posting, but it was getting in front of no one. And it took me a little bit of time to realize that it was doing bad by talking to my friend. And with a little bit more talking, he realized when we talked about my business, how like when you hire me to sell your house, everybody that works with me, everybody that works with Right Choice, I look them in the eyes when I'm working, representing them, and tell them everything I do for you is in your best interest, because it's so important to do that. I'm selling your house. It's most people that don't have Bitcoin, it's their biggest asset, right? And this is a ton of money, and they're paying me a ton of money to sell it. Like sell a house in Niagara right now, average price, I don't know, 700,000. Commission, like it's around 10,000 commission-ish for one side. And then,
Right.
we pay out the other brokerage. $10,000 to do a task is a lot of money, right? It's a lot. We're not talking a Satoshi or whatever.
A Satoshi, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know how much that is. So with some time and talking to my friend, he's like, you're not doing what's best for your clients because you're doing a shit job marketing their properties. Even though I was doing a better job than most, I don't want to say most of the industry, even though it might be true, a lot of the industry.
Right.
Because I was doing, I was one of the first people doing like, I bought, when people, first of all, when I started, people were using like shitty digital camera to take pictures of houses. And just my phone at the time was way higher quality. And then like I bought like a professional camera early, and I was using a professional photographer when some people were still using like trash, right? This is a long answer to your question, isn't it?
No, this is great, and you know what? I notice it in your industry. Like you guys need like a whole media team. Like this is, you know, it's the real estate's the biggest market, right, in the country, right? It's like 25% of the economy or something crazy, is it not?
Something like that.
And like like it makes sense that there's going to be a lot of effort now. You know, going 10 years ago, obviously is quite a bit of time when we're talking technology and the tools and the prices of these tools, but it sounds like you were, you know, maybe ahead of the average, but still a long
doing
ways.
a terrible job. So I've covered a lot of it, but I'll get through it. So my friend was telling me, like, if you want to do a good job marketing, you have to start creating videos, and you have to create videos so that you get people watching them, so you can build an audience, so that when you post a house for sale, more people will see it. Because I could hire Steven Spielberg to shoot a listing video and make the best fucking listing video you've ever seen. But if I post it and don't have an audience to get in front of it, nobody's going to know about it. So that's another thing about consistency and all that stuff, because you can make the video as good as you want, but you need an audience. Mm-hmm. So that's why I couldn't just do videos on my listings, because I list a house a month or whatever. Posting a video once a month is not going to get people interested in following me, even if I have Spielberg doing the videos, because it's not enough. People want that consistency, and you have to give them something that they know is going to be there and they're going to keep coming back for. Once a week is a great starting schedule for that. So
now you said you started on Monday, must see Mondays. You know, I'm trying to stick to a Monday morning schedule as well.
Which is great.
Is Monday morning like a good place to start? Or
I've seen from all the days Monday performs the best for posting content. I've seen that just by chance. I shouldn't say chance. I don't remember our first reason for picking Monday, but I post now content every day of the week, and Monday outperforms consistently. So I always encourage people, if you're going to get into content cycle, you start with the Monday, right, for sure, because it way outperforms the weekend, and then Friday for sure. Yeah, Tuesday you still might do all right, but it seems like my theory behind it is people come back from the weekend to work and they're not ready to work, so they're spending a little bit more time messing around on the internet.
Yeah, well, a lot of people work on computers now as their job, so you know it's easy to throw something up as a side. Check it out, right? Where they're spending more time online. But yeah, no, that's all quite interesting. And you know, talking about podcast per se, it's something that you could I think this is a great addition to your content, because you're talking to the people, people want to see those conversations that you're having with maybe restaurant owners or local officials or whoever you happen.
Guys.
Bitcoin. I'm so glad you're introducing Bitcoin to your audience, because I think it's responsible of you to do. Like a lot of people say, like it's responsible to have exposure to this asset now, right? Like there's all these other tools, now there's something else, and it's come to a point where people need to be aware of what's happening. You don't want to be the last in, right? Because then you benefit the least, right? So
exactly.
But content creation is is something new to me. Bitcoin comes a little bit more naturally. I'm obsessed with Bitcoin and talking to people, and usually I'm the guy asking questions, right? So what I'm giving you is a recap of what I've been told through interviews with 75, 85 different people and guests that have come on that are either Bitcoin maximalists, Ethereum people, NFT artists, Web3, business developers, or whoever it may be, just kind of all across the spectrum. And I'm trying different ways and testing different methods, and what resonates with the audience, what keeps people coming back, what you should expose new people to in the industry. It's kind of a challenge. Like explaining Bitcoin simply in one sentence is not easy. It's not an easy thing.
So I don't know if you want me to finish all of, because you asked why pizza. I don't know if you want me to finish on that, or there's other things too that I could give you comments on what I think with the podcast on ramping that up a little bit.
Let's stay structured. So let's let's go with finish your
Yeah.
pizza
And
because you
I'll
said
wrap it up a
went
little.
you went with a couple different things. You're
Yeah.
trying different things. So
like those must see Mondays, like I said, I couldn't be doing a listing video once a month. So came up with a concept. We came up with something with what do I love? And I love food. I'm a food addict. It's like I don't do drugs. I barely drink. Like food's my
you're just
addiction.
no fun, eh, Joe?
I know. I used to be way funner than I am now, but no doubt. But so food, I make some content around food. So I wanted to do it, and the way to do that, I like to create synergies however I can with stuff. So how can I have food? I can go to local restaurants. I can eat some foods. I can highlight the restaurant. I can get in front of their people, like we were talking about before. When I post a video about their restaurant, when I started, I had no brand. So any restaurant had something. They almost certainly at least had a Facebook page. So I get in front of their audience. They would get in front of mine that I didn't have. We're synergizing. We got people talking. I'm eating food, and it's helping people get to know me so that, hopefully if they get to know me, the people that like me, we can do some business together, right? And doing that to shoot a Must-See Monday video would take 3 or 4 hours because we would take multiple takes, and like I was terrible on camera. So like I would do an intro outside. I would shoot like 3 or 4 of them because I'd bobble in them and then like have to pick the best one. And then the editing, I don't know how long it took because I've always had somebody working on the back end of that. I don't even know how to edit anything. But at one point, yeah, I think it was a time I was going up to Montreal with the boys and somehow seeing Dave Portnoy do a pizza review. And I'm like, first of all, he was hilarious. But I'm like, this format is genius because he just did a food video with almost no editing. Like maybe you put the lower thirds on it or whatever, but you're not splicing together videos. It's a raw take. And I'm like, it's amazing. I can scale content creation because how long does it take to eat a slice of pizza? 5 minutes? I do it in 3. You can do it in 2. And like, I can now shoot 8 to 12 pizza reviews in the same time it used to take to shoot one Must-See Monday.
Wow.
So, yeah. And when I seen him, instead of straight copying him at first, even though I copied a lot in inspiration, I was doing burger reviews.
Okay.
And then at some point while doing burger reviews, I did a pizza review somehow. And like, I just love pizza more than burgers. And it got way more views. And I'm like, okay, like, I'm just going to
Clear
do
sign.
pizza. Yeah.
Clear sign, yeah.
Yeah. And like, yeah, the whole thing, like you're talking about the philosophy behind it all boils back because when somebody hires me to sell their house, I want to have that audience so that when we list the house, it's getting in front of as many eyeballs as possible. Because when you hire me to sell your house and I'm marketing it, my first job is to get it in front of as many people as possible. Like the goal in theory, which is impossible, is that the whole planet knew your house was for sale. Because if everybody knows it's for sale, now we can see who's interested in it, right? And then from who's interested in it, they come and see it in real life, not just a video. And then hopefully we get an offer or multiple offers and we can pick the best one. Because the opposite end of that is if nobody knows it's for sale, how am I going to do any of the rest of it, right? So, and the only way to get it in front of the most amount of people in 2024, we're going to round up, is by building an audience online. And that's through doing video content and leveraging social media. Like that's like, you can make it as simple as that and then build from there. But
yeah, like I say this often now. It's like
was that the most long-winded answer ever? Or what?
Well, you know what, you gotta hit your points, right? And no, I respect that because people ask me, my story or something, and it takes a while to get there sometimes. But yeah, no, it's just it's really good to hear your story and learn from you because obviously you've been doing this for quite a few years now, 6 years, right? So. It's a long road. And like we said earlier too, I think we were talking about this on Saturday night, like it takes commitment and a long time and it's about improving your videos every single time. And, I could tell for myself, like, obviously I have a long road to go, but I can also look back like 10, 15 episodes and I'm like, ooh, that's a little cringe. Like I didn't have my new mic then, or I wasn't using this camera then or something. Right. So, it is a process, and I just love Bitcoin, and I don't want my conversations with. It's an opportunity for me to get people from all over the world to talk about crypto and Bitcoin. So it's not just me telling, my friends and family and everybody here in Niagara region that Bitcoin's some new revolutionary technology that we should all be looking into. Like, look at all these other people. Look at like people that are way more successful than we could ever imagine, or people that have qualifications, like people that can really understand the code. Because like I'm not going through the code line by line and saying, yeah, that's all. But you can look at people that can, or certain companies that review codes, and kind of make your judgment from there. And I think right now a lot of people know that the writing is on the wall. So delivering that content now, that's a whole new story and path. And people like to deliver it in different ways. It's a lot of it's like, if I can reference Peter McCormick, host of What Bitcoin Did, he's been a great mentor for me. He's very good, replies to me on Twitter, X, and gives me tips and tricks. But he sits down like this in real life with all the leading figures in this space, in which I've drawn some guests from his show as well onto mine. But yeah, very like impartial, kind of centralist kind of fellow, and asking all types of different people that are into this space what's happening. So that's a popular medium. But then you have like the Bit Boys, who are they have the what do you call with the list on the side going down the topics of the day.
Oh yeah, the ticker or whatever.
The tickers, yeah, like you see on Sports Channel. So
to play off that a little bit too, it's interesting from the podcast component how different our approaches are, because I do mine in person and you do yours online, and which, like we talked about, there's the pros and cons to it. But what's really cool for you is you're a Niagara guy, Welland. You said Welland. Not a lot of people around here talking Bitcoin or making content around it, but you've had some big freaking names on your show.
Yes, I've had a couple. Which, blessed to have had them on, and, big supporters of them. But, to name drop a couple, Peter McCormick has been on. Roger Ver, who owns Bitcoin.com, which is a domain that could probably be sold for $1 billion at any time.
Who was the first guy?
Peter McCormick is the host of What Bitcoin Did. And I think it's the most popular Bitcoin podcast out there, like Bitcoin Only, Bitcoin Central podcast. And, I recommend the content on YouTube, on all podcast platforms. Roger Ver, again, Bitcoin.com owner. His nickname's Bitcoin Jesus, but he says I'm more like Bitcoin Johnny Appleseed, because of all the seeds he's planted have all grown up to be all these big crypto companies. Like his name's in a lot of them. So there's a couple. I've had Jason Mayer, the author of this book. Now this guy's he's a simple math teacher down in the States. He's not a Bitcoin OG or anything, but Eric Yakes, I've had him on. He's got like 10,000 followers on Twitter, like someone who's been wrote a book, making a name for himself. Winklevoss twins are on my wish list. Same with Andreas Antonopoulos, the author of these books at the bottom here.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there one day, maybe. We'll see. There's some hard folks to get a hold of, but
if you keep going, you'll get there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Would be super cool to talk to them. So talking to people from all across the world, different, challenging different time zones, is trying to line that up. But this last year, AI has been a real good tool for content creators. And like for me, I do my own editing, create my own thumbnails, everything. Like I'm a one-man show over here. Like I did have some contractors in the past, but with AI and my own personal vision, I just find it better for me to do my own stuff now. So we'll see how that goes. AI has definitely helped me save hours in doing that. Big ChatGPT guy. I pay for the extra $20 to use that. It's like my new Google now.
Nice.
And it's really good.
What does that extra $20 get you?
So you can actually plug in a bunch of beta plugins, I guess they just call them plugins, and you can browse live web, you can create documents, you can create code, all sorts of things.
Thumbnails?
Thumbnails, I'm not sure about thumbnails, but I use a different tool for that. I use Canva for thumbnails lately, and there's probably a plugin for that too, but we're gonna see it develop more, right? This is just the year that's kind of come on my radar, so with the release of ChatGPT 4. So exciting times there, and never been easier to actually create content with these tools, which is, we're probably going to see a lot more content come online with it, I'd imagine.
Probably, for sure. Yeah, it's a noisy space, and that's why like consistency. Yeah, I find it interesting with the AI with content creation, because I've seen a little bit of videos, and I think I've even seen, one of the things I do before falling asleep is scroll TikTok. That tends to be the last thing where I just like consume a little bit of recreation, even though and like I've seen some videos that I can tell are like AI generated voice, person, whatever. I'm like, and they got way more views than I have. And I'm like, that's interesting, because there will be a bunch of accounts. I'm sure there's already and more that are not even real people that just build profiles that are like, well, I'm sure we'll have like huge influence.
Yeah.
Which, I don't even know where that will go.
It starts to get scary, because now we're talking about deep fakes, the whole deep fakes where you have AI versions of people that people can't even tell the difference, whether it's a human or a bot.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit scary. I'm probably more mentally prepared for it than most people. But at the same time, it's scary to me too. Like what's going to come in the next couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
that is a very interesting. We'll have to see. But yeah, with making it easier to make content, for sure. Yeah, there'll be more people, but the pillars to it, like I said, those are the things like consistency, making improvements, and then increasing the schedule.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, well, I just want to make sure we're hitting all our points here, man. I wanted to, to announce.
Yes.
I have the announcement here. So Halving Report is, I'm glad my logo's up on the screen for the announcement. There it goes. Halving Report will be going to El Salvador next week. And, we're looking to connect with people down in El Salvador. As you know, Bitcoin is legal tender, or their official currency down there, along with the US dollar. So they're the first country in the world to ever do that. There's now 2 countries that have Bitcoin as an official currency down there. So we're going to go to El Zonte, which is known as Bitcoin Beach. And we're going to check it out. We're going to report on what's happening and how the community's adjusted to Bitcoin being legal tender there now for a couple of years, and see how much people have actually adopted it or actually learn about it, what apps they're using.
Interesting.
And it's very interested to see.
Hey guys, going to do like reporting down there?
Yeah.
You're going to be making some content.
Yeah, I'm not going to have my whole setup or anything, but we'll do some stuff for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. So 2 countries. What's the other one?
It's Central African Republic. Yes. Central African Republic in April 2022. Central African Republic became the 2nd country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. The decision was somewhat controversial due to the country's unstable economic situation and limited internet infrastructure.
Interesting.
So, it's been long predicted by Bitcoiners that rogue nations will adopt Bitcoin first, because they have the least to lose and most to gain. So
interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
So we're seeing, a lot of talk about the US dollar in decline, countries using other things for settlements of payments. And, as we see this continue to happen, I think we're going to see more nations, and it'll be, third world countries, rogue nations, whatever, adopting it first, because they could gain the most from it first,
totally,
right?
Because if they have some of the holdings and then it gains more popularity, they're going to have some more.
And actually, it was all over Twitter today that because of the new prices that we're hitting with Bitcoin right now, that they're up on their holdings, and a lot of Wall Street criticism was pointed at El Salvador for poor financial decisions of buying Bitcoin, and there came a point where the president there, Bukele, has announced that they're going to be buying a Bitcoin every single day. So they're taking that dollar cost average.
They're taking that approach.
And an entire nation is dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. And, we could see some serious like future hash wars with Bitcoin. And there's a whole thesis on countries acquiring Bitcoin as a national strategic defense. Like if you don't own Bitcoin and say America's enemy or Iran is hoarding Bitcoin and America's not, well, and Bitcoin keeps going up in value and the US dollar keeps going down and that's what they're holding, they're going to have to compete by holding Bitcoin. So we could see like a nation
battle.
Yes, of Bitcoin, and they're just going to want to regulate the hell of it. That's all I can say. That's what's coming down the pipeline.
What would happen? Like some of the crazy theories, if Bitcoin did go to $1 million, like there's pros.
We're going
and cons
on vacation.
To this.
That's what's happening. We're going on vacation if Bitcoin hits $1 million, man. Yeah,
because it's kind of crazy to think like, okay, it gets there, and now, I don't even know.
It just, I'm sure it'll go to $1 million and then it'll correct. I'm sure, you know what? And you said earlier, I hope it's, we might be dead one day. I think Bitcoin will hit $1 million in our lifetime. Like so. I'm going to be 35 this week. You're 40-ish, I think.
Yeah.
And, we hopefully will be around for a few more decades, which is going to be, a few more halvings. Usually we see the price, double, triple, quadruple from previous highs. Now, again, like I said, too, that the halvings may be less impactful as time goes on, but I still think we're going to see like at least pricing the price double over these over the cycles. So you do a little math. If we're already pushing 60 grand Canadian, double that, double it again, it doesn't take,
well, it's not too far off.
It's not too far off from $1 million. Like 50, was it a 20x from 50,000 to 20x is $1 million.
Something. I'm just looking back, in the last 365 days, Bitcoin is up 160%.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So that was as low as 16,000, I believe, a year ago. If we go back 2 years ago, it's down from the peak because that was is that possible?
Sorry, say that again.
With the last year,
160%. Nice.
Yeah. Okay. 2 years ago, the price was as low as 15,000.
Oh, really? 15, eh? Yeah, that was the bottom.
As low as 15, but look, it's down 7% from 2 years because it was up higher.
Yes.
And then dipped along that 2 year.
Yes, we hit that previous all-time high.
Which was, what was that, 50, 60?
69 USD, so I think it was 80 some odd Canadian. So, like I said, look, we're already pushing 100 grand.
Yeah.
I can't see $1 million being that far-fetched at this point.
At some point, yeah.
It's just a matter of time, I do believe. So, $1 million a coin, man, I think that'll be like a penny a Satoshi or something like that. So some interesting things. But a question for you, Joe, what makes you want to talk about Bitcoin? What makes you think Bitcoin is worthy of sitting down on your podcast to put on your platform? Yeah,
it's a good question. I mean, I've been following it for years and I got the attention of it on its run up, I think from 3,000 to 20 during that time. So that was however long how long ago.
Yeah.
And I've consumed a bunch of content on it. It doesn't seem like it's a scam to me. It seems like it's a legitimate asset. I think it is volatile as hell. I think that it's a good thing that people looking to invest should consider having a portion of exposure to it because I don't think most people can handle a full portfolio of volatility like Bitcoin. So I think most people couldn't handle that, but I think that it will go up. I do think that it's just from following it over the time, looking back, looking forward, the halving, the coins going away. I think it's an asset that will continue to go up. So I think that it's just good for people to understand it. And if they've got a few bucks, why not? If you're doing any investing, have a little bit in there and I think I don't have full knowledge of investment practices, but it seems like
I think we should maybe add in that neither of us are financial advisors here.
Yeah, disclosure. But a lot of times you see with anything, it's good to spread your investments around and diversify. So I just think it's a good one that should be in there. Everybody's risk tolerance is different. So
you mentioned a couple times volatility. So I want to tackle it a little bit. What would you say to the, the criticism that, the stock market, like we've seen super volatility in the stock market, ETFs down huge, things that would traditionally be a safe haven or something that doesn't move as wild as
I don't know what
like
is
Bitcoin.
Not volatile. So yeah.
So like we're seeing Bitcoin volatility lessen over time, but we're also seeing other things become more volatile as well.
Yeah.
So I would say that the volatility, and if you measured volatility during this whole bear market, like there was times where Bitcoin, the price may have not been high, but it was stable for a while. Like maybe from $16,000 to $25,000. Like, yeah, sure, we were down in the gutters, like for that cycle, but we weren't as volatile as we were. It's only when we see that bull run happen and then, it gets oversold. It gets overbought and then it gets oversold. And like I said, kind of going back to that new technology. But Bitcoin usually drops the least amount, right? Like what did it go down to, like 60 or 70%? Went down from the previous high, right?
Yes.
Or no, more than that. Would have been more than that. Anyways, but you'll see like Ethereum, Binance, whatever, all these other coins will go down like 80, 90%.
Right.
So
that's
Bitcoin,
wild.
yes, Bitcoin is the least volatile usually.
And when I say volatile too, because like comparing it to real estate, when I started 10 years ago, real estate was on an appreciation of like 2 or 3% a year nationally, right? And that it was flat market going up, but maybe at like inflation or whatever. Right. And I remember when I first started, some people, I would sell their house and they were losing money based from when they sold it to having to pay commission of 5-6%, right? Because you needed to be holding at least that long to make up the difference. Where when I started paying attention to Bitcoin, just like today, the last 24 hours, it's up over 5% in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I remember on the run up from like 3 to 20, that was like not an uncommon day for, I don't remember how long. It felt like months. I don't remember. It was like 5%, 3%, 5%, 6%, 2%, 10%.
But it's compounding.
Yeah. And it was like, holy. And then like, once it hit 20, it came crashing down.
Yes.
Right? So volatile might be a subjective term, maybe not.
Well, no, I mean, you're right. At the end of the day, you are right. I'm just trying to.
There's other volatilities. No, completely. It's just, when talking about why do I want to do this, I think it's super interesting, and I think it's an asset that's going to continue to go up. And like, that's just my opinion. And I think we both share that, and I think there's a lot of educated people on it. I don't know how many educated people on Bitcoin don't think that, because I don't know if I've ever had a conversation with somebody that doesn't appreciate Bitcoin that understands it.
Right. Yeah. No.
Or I shouldn't say that doesn't understand. Doesn't think it's got legs.
Yeah. Most people that it's honestly, it's becoming more difficult to find critics, because people that understand what it is. And it's like, okay, well, we might be volatile, but every 4 years we're making a new high. So if you have a low time preference, then it doesn't matter to you. If you have a high time preference and you want to day trade it, well, Bitcoiners don't always see day traders in the greatest light, right? Like we want people that get that Bitcoin bug are then start dollar cost averaging. They're taking Bitcoin off the market and they're putting it into a hard wallet and they're never touching it. And that drives price up. We got day traders, that makes it more volatile. You start talking millions of dollars or more being traded back and forth all the time, and that contributes to its volatility. But every cycle we get more of these die-hard Bitcoiners. Hodlers. I'm a hodler. Yeah. And there's certain people that make money, and it's founders, people that have exchanges, and hodlers is one of them. And for normal people, holding your Bitcoin long-term, dollar cost averaging will make you quite wealthy over a couple of cycles, depending on how aggressive you get into it. So super interesting stuff.
I had a really interesting conversation with somebody, because in real estate, people ask me, when's the right time to buy, when's the right time to sell, right? And I don't know how to time the real estate market.
Crystal ball. Yeah.
Exactly. No crystal ball. But I had a really good, insightful conversation with a guy recently about Bitcoin on how to handle that, which I've never really thought of before because I never seen a trend in something before like Bitcoin, like you're talking the 4 years and like how we see it run up and then we see it go down. And like if you do look back at the history, which I never thought there was a trend to it, but now that there's more time, it kind of looks like that there is. And will that continue? We don't have a crystal ball, but we can see what's happened.
Right. Well, yeah. And talking about halvings, like Bitcoin's been around for, 14 years. And so every, 2012 we had a halving, 2016 we had a halving, 2020 we have a halving. We're going to the fourth halving into 2024. And if you look at all three previous halvings, it's been roughly within like a same pattern of after the halving, usually 6 to 10 months after the halving, we see an all-time high. That means somewhere around next year, we're going to see Bitcoin reach beyond 70,000 USD, and make new all-time highs, and people will play it as they want. Some people might say, "Oh, I've been holding for 5 years. I'm finally in the green. Maybe I want to take my money out because I never really dived deep into Bitcoin. I just jumped on the bandwagon, and I don't know enough." Yeah, a lot of people do that, and there's always going to be people from every camp along the way. But those Bitcoiners are made though during that bear market. The people that spend the time, study it, realize what's happening here and the opportunity that it presents as a revolutionary technology. I don't think it's like I said, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon, and I don't think it's possible to get rid of it.
I don't think so either. I want to play a little bit off of the two best advices I've heard on Bitcoin investing.
Okay.
One is the dollar cost averaging, like you're saying, because I think that is great. But the one that he mentioned to me, which I had never considered, like I said, with looking at real estate, not completely understanding stocks, even though when I went to Brock, I won the stock market challenge the first time I entered it by complete fluke.
Wow.
When I thought I understood stocks, but that was a rude awakening. But his theory was this, because he was talking about simply buy high, buy low, sell high.
Right.
Simply. Right. And I'm like, how do you buy the peak or buy the bottom and sell the peak? And he's like, you don't have to. And I'm like, okay. But if you're buying right now, we're all anticipating, like you said, anybody that knows that sometime next year we're going to hit a new high. And then sometime after that, it's coming down. So he's like, if you're buying before that peak, like now, and then after it gets there, you don't have to wait for it to get to the top. Whenever you're up at some point, sell off. He's not talking about being a hodler, which whatever. Yep. I'm just saying his, and then you wait some time, you don't spend that money, and it's going to come down again, and then buy again. And just like, you don't have to get the absolute bottom and you don't have to get the absolute top. But if you're just looking at that, and I'm not telling people to do this or not, I don't know if that's the part of the Bitcoin philosophy, but when I heard that, I'm like, that makes sense because you don't have to be perfect on either end of it.
Right.
Because there's a pretty wide gap between that high and low that we've seen.
Yeah. Well, it's a strategy that many try to take, and it's just very, like you said, it's difficult to time the best time to do that.
Yeah.
Like we could hit a new all-time high, but that could mean we're a couple grand over last time all high when we're going to go way beyond that. We could go double, triple the price. And I would say that most people that try to utilize that strategy are probably going to end up with less Bitcoin over time.
Yeah.
So if you buy the low, say you buy in right now at, or say you bought like a 30 grand or something like that.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And then you sold at 50 and you made your money. And then maybe the next time you get it into Bitcoin, cause you're now out of the market. Are you buying right away? Like you're getting back in when the price is higher now. So whereas if you keep accumulating over time, and then another thing too is if you're sitting in front of a computer screen all day to trade, not everybody's a trader. Not everybody understands that or reading the candlesticks. And so I'm saying again, for the very normal person, I'm trying to help the plebs out. And if you think you can outsmart Bitcoin, or you can day trade it and make money and get more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like
no, I wasn't saying day trading though.
Okay.
Not day trade.
Just
It's like long term. It's like
Okay.
as if somebody bought now and like exactly like we're talking about anticipating
yes.
after the halving it going up. Like if you bought now and then sold somewhere at like almost
So you did it sold at $100,000. Yeah.
because like very likely a month from now it's going to be up. Very likely.
Well, I don't know about that. So Chris and I were talking about this earlier today.
Interesting.
We've seen a big run up. Like we're up 15% in the last week.
160 on the year.
We're still like 19 weeks away to the next halving. You know, anticipated new all-time highs don't occur till usually 6 to 10 months after the halving. I think we could have a short correction. I think in the
Definitely
next
can
30
happen.
days we could be back down to 35 grand.
Definitely can happen.
So it's all you can't predict it. You don't have that crystal ball. So again, for the normal person, dollar cost averaging over a long period of time and not trying to get in and out is probably your best bet. If you want to buy high or sell high, and then try to get back in lower, it's a good opportunity to get more Bitcoin, but at the same time, you could end up with less Bitcoin.
Yeah, totally. It's gambling.
So, and then another thing too is taxes. You got to think about settling your taxes. So every time you make an exchange, every time you go, so they've made it so you can't like legally, you're not supposed to go into like Bitcoin to Ethereum and like swap. Or you could, but you have to figure out what that sell price was. You convert how much your Bitcoin sold into cash, and then how much cash into Ethereum. It's not like it's a clean swap. It's like you sold Bitcoin, and then that's a taxable event, and then you bought Ethereum on a different scale.
Right.
So
that's interesting because that definitely comes into play. Because at one point, Bitcoin was not really. The government didn't really know what was going on, but now they recognize it, and they're like, you have some protocol to follow.
Right. And just like the existing, one thing I came to realize is just like the existing tax system now, when you add crypto and Bitcoin into that, I mean, it comes down to being an honor system. Like they don't know where your Bitcoin is or where your crypto is. You could have it on obscure accounts and there's self-custody, and your Bitcoin could be anywhere. At the end of the day, the taxing system's an honor system of what you're telling is the truth. But every time you make a trade, whether you're buying you do buy a chocolate bar with Bitcoin for $5 or something like that. Well, that's a taxable event. You just sold your Bitcoin, so you got to keep track of all that. So the regulatory environment isn't ideal for small purchases with Bitcoin right now. I think they should change that. I think they should make anything under $200, or a certain amount of money shouldn't be a taxable event, or else you're preventing it from being used as money, right? And it's more of a store of value, which I might just keep it as so anyways. But eventually, if you got a big stack of Bitcoin, say you hodl for 2 or 3 halvings, you should probably have a shit ton of money. So you might want to start spending that Bitcoin,
a little bit,
right, rather than going into cash first. But if you're somewhere like El Salvador, you can just go ahead and spend that Bitcoin. Now, I'm not sure.
Do you know how they're using it there or not yet?
So I think they're trying to implement like that Lightning Network I was telling you about. So there's probably a few different wallets that they're using down there. A lot of the big Bitcoin maximalists like Max Kaiser and Jack Mallers and even Peter McCormack have gone down there. They've spent time there and trying to just understand the community and help push forth this Bitcoin revolution down there. So I think Lightning Network for Bitcoin maxis is a big thing. They need Lightning to work in order for their narrative of Bitcoin as a cash, as a means of payment and settlement to add up. Because without Lightning Network, the Bitcoin transaction fees are super high. There's a whole new ordinal inscriptions on Bitcoin right now, which is driving up fees. So if you want to transact in Bitcoin, it's like a melting ice cube, right? So I'm going to send you, $1,000 in Bitcoin. Well, time it gets to you, it's 990. You send it to somebody else, now it's 980, 970, right? So whereas the Lightning Network comes on and takes those transactions off the chain, off the blockchain, does them in a centralized manner, and then does one big settlement on chain.
Interesting. So it costs a lot less. Take a little bit longer, maybe, but costs a lot less.
For it to happen on chain, yes, it takes longer, or it could.
Yeah.
But that space is still developing a lot. So I'm not using, like I said, being here, I'm using my fiat and buying Bitcoin with it when I can, transacting with that, and I don't want to complicate myself by spending my Bitcoin or wasting it on fees, right?
Yeah, no need to waste some fees. Yeah.
Yeah, lots to learn about the Bitcoin space. But if you just want to buy, if you just want to get in and benefit from the price appreciation, which let's be real here, most people see Bitcoin, they want to make money.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, start with BitBuy. You can go there. You start learning. They got tools. We got a podcast. We and you are talking now. We're learning about it, but it's not something you're going to learn in a 1 hour conversation. It's something that you're going to have to pay attention to for a while and
right.
Stand on the shoulders of some of these giants that have pushed out this content over the years. Everyone in the space really, really willing to speak out and talk to people and help get them onboarded because if you come into the space, well, you're buying Bitcoin now too. Not only is it a revolution, it's going to help you, helps me, helps the whole community.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really cool tool, and I think eventually everyone's going to have to get on board, whether the bank forces them at some point or a third party forces them. Yeah, I just don't see fiat currencies and the way they are being in the future.
A long-term solution.
Yeah, most fail. After 100 years or so, right? We're U.S. dollar now. Before that, it was a different currency, a different whatever the United Kingdom had the world reserve currency for a bit, and a few other European countries. We're on the U.S. dollar standard right now, and people talk about the Bitcoin standard, and
interesting.
That could be a real thing, which would change a lot of things in this world.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I think the last thing, I think that if we wanted to, we could probably talk for 6 hours, but I think we should be starting to get close on the final laps, and we'll have to do this again.
For sure. Should be an exciting year next year. So we'll, catch up on price, and we'll try to time the high, and
we'll be hilarious.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin miners make money. However, I don't even know if I want to get into that part, but in 2140, they're not going to be creating new coins anymore.
Right.
They will be making money from transaction fees.
Correct. That will be the incentive for them to continue to mine, and like the Bitcoin transaction market, is something that we need. Like there needs to be incentive for them to settle these transactions. But
so then at that point, could it mean that fees are ridiculously high because rewards have now only been turned to transactions?
Well, a larger percentage of miner rewards become fees over time.
Mm-hmm.
So fees will most likely increase, but people are trying to create these lightning and other types of means for people to use your Bitcoin.
Interesting.
To avoid the high fee environment, to make Bitcoin for everybody, not just rich people. Right? We don't want Bitcoin to be just for rich people. We want it to be for everybody. So it's a free market though. People want to buy Bitcoin. People want to buy Ethereum. People come into the space not for just making money. People come into the space because they're an NFT artist, and this is the new way to inscribe your artwork. And this is a new way to create a decentralized game. All these different things you can utilize blockchain for, and I don't think Bitcoin can't satisfy all those things, right? So we're seeing other networks develop as well. But Bitcoin's your blue chip. It's like 55% of the whole market capitalization is Bitcoin for all crypto. So it's a good place to start and start learning about it. I'm glad you're creating awareness about what's going on here, and anybody, hopefully some people in Niagara can get on board, and we're willing to help them out, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, people got any questions? I mean, I don't know as much as you do, but I'm happy to.
Yeah. Well, I got so if I can just plug halvingreport.com real quick.
Of course.
I got everything about my hardware wallet on there. I got everything about what exchanges you can go to, places you can spend your Bitcoin, safest places to buy your Bitcoin, and even on the homepage, it's just like a breakdown of what would be good to read first getting into the space. So halvingreport.com is a good place to start. I got that set up for anybody new coming. It's basically what I'm going to tell you is what's going to be on that website. So, if people want to bypass asking the questions, but feel free to reach out anytime about that. And Yeah, man. Bitcoin to the moon.
To the moon. Diamond hands, baby.
Yes. Don't be lettuce hands.
I like it. Is there anything else you want to touch on? Bro, there's still more things I could talk about, but
Yeah.
I don't know, like if we save it another time or just like.
Yeah, we're pushing like 2 hour mark here, man. So it's been a good conversation.
So one thing I ask everybody at the end is if you were on death row, hopefully never, but what would your last meal be?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I had a Burrito Boy burrito tonight. It was really damn good.
Which one did you get?
Good. I get I'm a plant-based eater, as I told you. So I got the sweet potato one, but
Nice.
it's full of beans and rice and lettuce and guacamole and corn and onions and
hot
just
sauce?
the blend. I went with the medium tonight.
Yeah.
I went with the medium. Sometimes I'm in the mood for hot. I like spicy food.
Yeah,
but
just mix it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mix it up.
What else? What else would be on there?
Oh, geez, man, you're pushing me. Yeah. I don't know.
Would you have meat on death row?
I don't know. I think not at this point. I haven't eaten it in so long.
How long has it been?
Well, plant-based for 3 years and pescatarian
shit.
for like 6 or 7 before that.
Okay.
And I don't crave it anymore. So I probably wouldn't. I would just, throw that aside for my last meal, death row. But that's an interesting one though.
What about drink? What would you have to drink with?
I need some alcohol for sure. Maybe just like a rye and ginger or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, just a little buzz. I'm sure you'd want going into that.
I like it.
Yeah, man.
So
maybe some guacamole dip. I like Mexican food a lot, actually.
Oh, I love Mexican.
Yeah.
I used to only ask that one, and I think from watching yours and other things, I have just some other I don't know if they're light. Some are light, some are heavy. But what do you like on your pizza then?
What do I like on my pizza? Veggies, man. So I do like roasted red peppers, onions, garlic.
Ooh, garlic, nice.
Yeah. Man, my girlfriend always talking like she's likes little garlic. I like a lot of garlic.
Nice.
So anything, spinach, just load it with veggies, and I'm pretty good.
Do you have to ask them to cook it well done because of all the extra water content on there, moisture?
Yeah, actually I do. Ask it for well done.
Yeah, because if you don't, it could be soggy with all that. Yeah, interesting. I
Yeah.
like a good veggie pizza. I just ordered one the day before at Todd's when we were there.
Okay.
I brought.
And what's your choice of veggies on?
If I get a veggie pizza?
Yeah.
Oh man, I can rock. I do pizza reviews with cheese pepperoni, but I'll eat anything. If I get that, I just want to make sure it's cooked well. Because if it's a soggy mess, that's if it's just doughy. But I like peppers, onions, hot peppers, garlic. I don't often get, but that's a great idea. Yeah, I can do any veggie. Favorite kind of music or era of music?
Man, I got to go with hip hop.
Nice.
I praise the king of hip hop, Eminem.
Nice.
Yeah, man. If I'm in the gym, man, I just could throw on that and I could listen to a lot of his music where over and over and over again, and you're never gonna get every single line. You could never most people's music that comes out, you could learn the music, but you'll never learn all his songs and all his words and everything.
He's awesome.
So I think he's a top 10 in most people's lists anyway. How about you?
For music?
Yeah.
Old school hip hop rap. Eminem, Tupac, Ice Cube.
Nice.
Biggie, all that stuff. My go-to is old school stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
you like any of the new school stuff?
It took me a long time to come around to Drake. And I thought he was too I don't know if it was mainstream or whatever. But then I listened to some of his music and I'm like, oh, this is good. I can't tell you I'm like, oh my God, huge fan. But I'm like, okay, yeah, he's good. I don't know if I know a lot of the new stuff.
Right. Yeah, you just kind of catch what's really good, right?
Yeah.
Drake's now the number 2 best hip hop rap recording artist of all time, where Eminem still stands at number 1.
Eminem still won?
Yeah.
Sick. Yeah, Eminem's classic.
And since I was 13 years old, starting to listening, he's always been in the top. If you look at who were the top 5 rappers back 20 years ago, he'd be there with a few other people, Jay-Z or whatever, Kanye. Now you got a whole different group of people, but Eminem's still at the top.
And he was gone for a while. Like he fell off for a while.
Well, he lives a very private life, and yeah, he's had addiction with drugs.
Yeah.
Clearly came from like, I'm sure most people have seen the movie 8 Mile, like,
Great movie.
yeah, like the kind of, depicts his life. Obviously came from rags. So sometimes probably a weird guy in real life a little
I
bit.
can only
He's,
imagine.
seems like easily triggered, or maybe just that his music makes him seem that way. But yeah, that when I'm going to the gym and I need some music and some pump up music, man, like,
Oh yeah, he's
yeah,
great.
or even vocal warm up if you want to, rap along to something like that. But yeah, he's my all time favorite for sure.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's still on my high list if I could hang out with somebody for a day just to see what it would be like.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Because like, I don't know, he's such an interesting guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we've seen what we've seen, but yeah, we only know so much. And
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got good days and bad, but it
For
would just
sure.
be interesting to see what
Do you have a number one?
song.
That
Or
that
what?
you would hang out with, like a celebrity or dead or alive? Kind of chucking the Fun Blitz questions right back at you here,
like
Joe.
it. I like it. Dead or alive celebrity.
Anybody?
Anybody? My dad. That's
Yeah.
easy.
Okay, let's go
Yeah.
celebrity then.
Yeah. Yeah, like first top of mind is definitely Eminem. Oh, it's been for a
Really?
long,
Wow.
yeah, and like that's not just because you
Interesting.
said it. I don't
Wow.
know. I don't know if I have to try and think otherwise. But
Yeah.
but I've always thought it'd be super interesting to see because like he's clearly got a lot of things going on. He's got a lot of cash, so he doesn't live a life like me or you do.
Oh
And-
no, he's got some mega mansion at this point, but
yeah, something, and like I'm sure he's got a recording studio in his place. Like I'm sure some days he might go bust off some music, and some days he might just lay
Yeah.
around and like
Yeah.
I have no idea. There's probably not a typical day for him. Maybe
the typical day is probably reading the dictionary, creating his next new diss or something like that.
no doubt.
But
No doubt.
interestingly, sorry to cut you off here, but interesting,
Yeah.
his daughter does a podcast now.
Yeah, Haley.
Haley, yeah.
Interesting. What does she focus on?
You know what? I think there was a lot of hype, when I first got into, oh, for sure, I'm going to watch this. And then like, there was not enough about her dad. She doesn't talk about her dad enough. And it's like,
Right.
they're talking about their, like, her and her friend are talking about their everyday life stuff. And it's just not as
Not what you were
entertaining.
looking for.
Not what I was looking for. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to go to her because of who she is. And they want to hear about the king
Pops,
of hip hop, man. They don't want to hear about,
Yeah, and see that'd be tough.
whatever,
'Cause that's,
so.
yeah, that'd be tough for her. I'm sure. Yeah,
But-
that's a tough spot.
but I'm sure she's always going to be overshadowed, right? But I think she's, I don't know. She's always going to have a following, of course.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Who would you pick? He wasn't even on my question here, but
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'd probably go with, maybe him, but I'd probably pick someone more in the intellectual crowd, like maybe like a Elon Musk, or you know what? You know who would be like a really good one would be Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
Because he's super
for sure.
smart and he's super funny.
for sure.
And he probably knows some shit that he'd probably tell you
Yeah.
like offline.
Elon and Joe,
Yeah.
we got a lot of similar likes. Like for sure, those guys.
Yeah,
would
yeah.
be- yeah,
And I'm sure, like, obviously top of many people's lists. But
those are good ones.
yeah.
I think that. Yeah, Elon would, because he's just way out there. Like
Yeah.
Joe, probably a little bit more relatable of
For
a guy,
sure.
but yeah,
What about Alex Jones? You know that
Alex
guy?
Jones, yeah, he's wild. Yeah, that'd be an interesting conversation to have with him.
Yeah,
That would
for
be-
sure.
That would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know where he resides or anything. He got like blacklisted, right?
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
even know if does he
Yeah.
have any content coming out anymore?
I think he just has his website, like Infowars.com. I don't. He's not allowed on like social media
yeah, he
anymore.
got like
Said too many controversial things that were, I think, provably fake or
Yeah, see,
wrong.
Yeah, see, that's interesting because I can't say like I know all the stuff he's put out there just a fraction, but I've seen some stuff that he said that was way wrong, and I think some stuff that seemed way wrong that later was right, and like
Yes.
yeah, it's kind of wild because he's just a wild
Yes.
man. Like I've seen
Yes.
some of his hot clips, and it's just wild.
Well, yeah, you a lot of conspiracists. Like he's probably the number one conspiracist, I would say.
Who
like,
I want to have a conspiracy theorist on here. to see some stuff.
Yeah?
You must have a couple kicking around, or I don't know if you want to say any or not, but at some point I want to have some on too, because I find those conversations interesting too.
Yeah. Well, if you want to have like a local conspiracy theorist, I don't know. I could shoot you some names for sure. I won't shoot any off here on the channel, but
I would love that at some point to do that.
You're gonna be all over the place for sure. It might be here for a 4-hour conversation.
That's
but,
all right.
No, I got a book. That's all about the Q. You've heard of Q, like the QAnon.
Yeah.
I actually am friends with one of the co-writers of that, and
you're friends with one of the co-writers.
Yes, of QAnon. And
wow.
Actually, this guy, I don't know if you could get him here because he lives in Nova Scotia, but he's a co-writer, and then the other guy's a PhD professor, and they wrote this book together about the QAnon and how many of the modern conspiracy theorists, conspiracies have stemmed from the whole Q thing, and like Donald Trump was like the center around that, as like the leader of like they looked at him as like a leader of like a lot of this stuff, of like a savior almost.
Right.
So this I have actually 2 books, one about the whole thing and how it started, getting down into like the 4chan forums of what people said, and everything nailed down to a T of everything modern conspiracy. And then I have a reference guide for that book that breaks down every single reference. Like, it was very academic.
What?
Yes, it was academically done like to a T, and it breaks down like where a lot of things have stemmed from that we've seen, a lot of stuff that's transpired through COVID, right? Like conspiracy theories and a whole bunch of stuff. So I do have, but this guy's in he's in Nova Scotia, but he's done a lot of voice work. He'd be a great guy to have on your podcast.
And you know him.
Yeah.
That's wild.
We actually worked at Canada Post together. We started out in letter carrier school like back in 2014 in Calgary. He's since moved back home, Nova Scotia. I've since moved back home here in here to Welland, Niagara. Yeah. So I do know. Has
he ever come to Niagara?
No, not really.
No?
But yeah, if you want to talk conspiracies, man, he would probably be your guy, because like I said, he wrote the book on the it's called the QAnon. I think I think it's just called QAnon. I got the whole book, man. So if that is something that you are interested in, I could get someone for you. But if being physically present might be the challenge.
Until he comes to Niagara at some point. Everybody comes to Niagara almost at some point to see Niagara Falls or something.
He's also like 50 years old, so he's been here before. He's just probably not on his regular travel guide. So But okay. I got some sources for you. Keep rolling.
That's good. Well, I don't know if you've already answered this one, but if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go?
So budget doesn't matter. I got enough money to go wherever I want for how long I want. If I can go anywhere in the world,
I'm good with that.
Okay. Yeah. Oh wow. You know what, man? I really want to go to Dubai. I think I mentioned it earlier in the podcast briefly, but just a super built up wealthy city that's come a long way in a short period of time. And they have the Palm Springs and a lot of man-built islands and that replica like Earth and continents. And I just heard really amazing things and seems super cool there. I've been to Singapore before, and that was very interesting, a very modern city. But it's just an eye opener. And so I think Dubai is one of those cities that comes to mind first when you say that.
I like it. I think.
Do you have a top spot or
a top? I mean, top of the list: Italy, Japan. I would go to Dubai. It's not Italy and Japan is where I'm hoping to go to next. And like I like going back to like my parents' home countries, like Spain and Portugal. Those are always nice.
Yeah,
but yeah. I want to try some pizza in Italy or some sushi in Japan or see Tokyo, that crazy city.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to those reviews.
Yeah, no doubt. Last one.
Okay.
We're over 2 hours in.
Wow.
And I guess the question is, if you had $1 billion, what would you do? But maybe if you had, I don't think 1 billion Bitcoin, but yeah, $1 billion. What would you do with $1 billion?
I would set myself to be an international citizen. So I would own properties and seek citizenship in various countries. I would try to just kind of balance your portfolio, sort of, right? As a human being, and what would be the best thing to do with all that money is probably to invest a lot of it, because you're not going to spend all that money. But you know, I want to have some fun too, man. So I'm going to round up all my friends. We're going to, I don't know, maybe rent a cruise boat. I don't know. I got some friends that might get seasick, so maybe a resort. And we're going to party, man. We're going to have like the biggest freaking party ever. And it's going to be all Bitcoin themed.
Oh, I love it.
And yeah, you're going to be there.
I like
all
it.
the guys
Appreciate
from
it.
Todd's place on Saturday, they're all going to be there. All
like
my
it.
friends, I'm going to fly in everybody, and we're going to party somewhere where it's hot and
Have a good time.
and have a jolly old time. Yeah, and then the rest of it, I'm sure I'm going to have some, you know, philanthropy in me, and I'm going to obviously give some back when you're talking that kind of money. But yeah, international citizenship, like I'm going to look for various citizens, various citizenships.
How come that? How come that?
Because I think you're just de-risking yourself by being tied to one country. So, you know, maybe the Canadian real estate market, I see all the time, people say, oh, Canadian real estate is the biggest bubble ever. So maybe, you know, not having some here, but investing some down in, you know, some
El Salvador,
somewhere where it's, you know, high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
And then just having that,
Yeah.
citizenship
Makes sense.
and, you know, be able to go other places, travel more freely. You're obviously with that kind of money, you're going to want to travel a lot. I'm sure traveling's a big thing for a lot of people. So, yeah, just being able to go as far and wide as I want with as least friction as possible.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that. Bro, this was solid.
This is super solid, man. A lot to digest, I'm sure, for your viewers.
I
I appreciate everybody listening in. You know,
This was a good one.
let's touch base.
Last things.
Yeah.
We'll re-say it again if anybody hasn't gone there yet.
bitbuy.ca/halving.
And then we didn't throw any plug on the Tracer, did we?
We didn't throw
It's so
a
late
plug
in
on
the-
the Trezor.
One person is going to make it this far.
Definitely, one person's gonna make it, and it's gonna be great. And yeah, so I've been plugging the Trezor device here. There's a few different colors you can get it in. There are the oldest crypto hardware company in the space, super reputable, completely open source software, so you can verify it yourself if you're a coder. And yeah, man, it's a great spot to store your self custody coins. And yeah, we can
You got any
provide
link for that?
Any what?
Do you have a link for that?
I got a link. It's brand new to me. I just became an affiliate with Trezor, so I have the link. I can provide it to you. It's probably going to be up on my website by the time this goes on air. So
all they gotta
unless
know-
we're live, we're not live right now, are we?
No,
Okay.
not live. So, yeah, even BitBuy, whatever, if they just go to your website, they're going to be able to find that BitBuy
Yes.
link anyway. So if you just go to halvingreport.com, that's where it's at.
Exactly. You can go
Yeah.
there too. Sweet, bro.
This was sick.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Sick. Thank you for coming.
Cheers.
Cheers, bro.